Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you 7 questions I ask myself before buying anything. And as I mentioned previously in my videos, this year I'm really trying to control my consumption and expenses. And that involves being more intentional by trying to focus on the things I need more than the things I want. And hopefully at the end of this video, you'll be more encouraged and convinced to spend wisely so that we can save a lot in the long run. Alright, so for the first question I always ask myself, and that is, do I really need this? And if yes, do I really need it now? And I think this is the most essential question that we should ask ourselves before buying anything, because I think most of the time we tend to buy things that we want more than the things that we actually need. Well, personally, guilty rin ako dyan, but eventually I realized na I don't actually need it kasi napapansin ko hindi ko naman siya nagagamit palagi or never ko siya nagamit, so I just ended up wasting my money na instead I could have saved up that money for something much more important. So this year, what I'm planning to do para maiwasan yung mga ganong situations like impulsive buying, before I go to the store, I should have prepared a list that I really need to buy and just focus on those items. And kapag ka nabili ko na sila, hindi na ako talaga iikot pa para magtingin ng mga iba pang items. Kasi doon nagsisimula yung mga impulsive purchases natin, kasi as consumers, we have the tendency to be attracted to items, most especially if they are new releases or new arrivals. And in the end, we find ourselves buying that item kahit naman hindi talaga natin sila kailangan. So para maiwasan talaga yon, once you were able to get the items that are on your list, mag-checkout na talaga kayo, wrap it up, magbayad na kayo sa counter para maiwasan yung makakita pa kayo ng mga items na posibleng magustuhan nyo. Moving on to question number 2, and that is, can I afford it? Similarly with question number 1, I think this is also essential to ask ourselves before buying anything, kasi I believe this is very crucial, kasi there are people na if they really want to buy something but sometimes short sila, so they tend to borrow money from someone else so that they can be able to afford or to buy that item. But that's not actually a good practice, because you will have the tendency to repeat that and make it a habit, and doon na kayo mahirapan talagang magbayad ng mga items na nabili nyo. And again, going back to number 1, you really have to evaluate if you really need that item, kasi kung hindi naman talaga, palagpasin mo na lang. And besides, kung wala ka naman talagang budget for that, wag nyo na lang siyang bilhin. But let's say if you really need that item, I suggest that you really save up for it para hindi mo na kailangan manghiram ng money from somebody. But of course, I know may mga taong may credit card, but that is not enough to justify your decision to buy an item, especially if you can't afford it now. Kasi with credit cards, meron yung mga payment options. It doesn't mean na na-swipe mo na yung credit card mo is bayad ka na. No, you have to pay for that certain amount in your next billing period. And meron din mga installment, like for 6 months, kailangan mong bayaran yung amount na yon. So isa-split yung amount na yon to 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. So you really have to ask yourself if you can pay for that amount after swiping your credit card. And again, it all boils down to our first question, if kailangan nyo ba talaga siya or hindi naman talaga. Kasi kung bumili ka ng item na hindi mo naman talaga kailangan, tapos babayaran nyo siya buwan-buwan ng ganitong amount, so it's just too impractical and sayang lang din, kasi kung isa-save nyo na lang yung money na yun, diba? Mas magagamit nyo pa siya for something much more important in the future. Okay, so for question number 3 is, do I have something similar with it? And I know oftentimes tayo mga consumers, we have this tendency to be attached to something. For example, favorite natin yung mga white sneakers. So if there's a chance na makakita kayo ng white sneakers, parang attracted kayo and gusto nyo talagang bilhin yung sneakers na yun kasi nga favorite mo siya. But if you would think about it, meron ka na namang white sneakers na nagagamit pa, maayos pa naman yung condition. And for me, if that is the case, hindi mo na kailangan bumili ng isa pang pair of white sneakers kasi you have something similar with it. And actually, marami pang examples like in makeup. So kung meron ka ng pink lipstick, huwag ka nang bumili ng another pink lipstick kasi meron ka ng ganun, diba? Sa clothes din ganun. So kung meron ka ng ganitong style, huwag ka nang bumili ng same style na ganun kasi meron ka na, and I feel like that would be enough. And basically, if you want to be more practical and if you want to try to live more minimally, I suggest na huwag kayong bumili ng items na meron na kayo. Alright, moving on to our question number 4, and I think this one applies to purchasing food, kasi ako, when it comes to food, ito, mahirap talagang magpigil bumili, lalo na kapag gutom ka talaga. But the question is, can I make it myself? And I know ngayon mataas na talaga ang bilihin, but there are times na mas magandang lutuin or i-prepare nyo na lang sila sa bahay, na mas mura pang bumili ng ingredients, tapos ikaw na lang gumawa, instead of buying it somewhere else. So for example, nagka-crave ako ngayon sa lasagna, and I saw one sa isang cafe, but I saw saw the price, expensive talaga. So kung mas pipiliin ko mas maging practical and kung saan ako makakasave, I can cook it myself at home. Magkano lang naman ang ingredients. And kung iisipin mo, mas marami pa akong magagawang servings, more than yung isang serving lang na yon for that price. So things like that. But I know of course, meron mga tao na talagang gusto nila bumili na lang para hindi na sila mahirapan or hindi na nila kailangan ng time to prepare it. I completely understand that. Pero I'm just giving you an option if you wanna be more practical. Ayun nga, kung kaya nyo naman silang gawin sa bahay, then just do it yourself. Okay, so now for question number 5, and that is, can I find affordable alternatives for it? And this question perfectly applies sa mga makeup, diba? Lalo sa ating mga ladies sa mahilig mag-makeup. And personally, ako hindi naman ako brand conscious when it comes to makeup. Basta ang importante sa akin is yung quality of the product. And that is something that I've been explaining in my videos. Basta maganda yung quality ng product kahit hindi siya branded talaga, yung high-end, okay lang yun sa akin. Basta yung performance ng product, okay na okay. So I would go for that. Rather than spending on something much more expensive na makukuha ko naman din yung experience or quality ng product na yon to something much more affordable, syempre dito na ako magsasettle sa mas affordable. And I actually made a video on this specifically on makeup dupes. So I will put it here in the I button in case na naghahanap kayo ng mga alternatives to makeup. So ayan, gumawa ko ng video for that. And hindi lang to sa makeup nag-a-apply ha, sa maraming bagay, like sa mga gadgets, sa clothing, other essential items. So ayan, nag-a-apply tong question na to sa mga yon. So I guess what I can suggest to you is to do your research kung ano talaga yung maganda yung quality, yung mas maglalast sa inyo. So ayun yung mga consider nyo when you're trying to look for an alternative to something. Moving on to our question number 6, and that is, will I see myself using it over and over? And again, this question applies to almost everything. Makeup, clothes, shoes, and a lot more. So ayun, isipin nyo muna kung talagang magagamit nyo sila ng paulit-ulit, kung ma-maximize nyo talaga yung item na yon. Kasi kung hindi, your money just go to waste quickly, ng ganun-ganun lang. So you really have to evaluate and you really have to think about it before deciding to buy that product or item. Kasi if it's something that you won't really use in the long run, sobrang sayang lang ng pera nyo. And now for our final question to ask ourselves before buying anything, and that is, will it last on me a long time? And this one very essential question then when we try to decide to buy something. And with this, we really have to consider the quality of the product we are buying. Kasi as much as possible, dun tayo sa mga heavy duty na items, yung magtatagal talaga sa atin. Kasi kung hindi, ang tendency, bibili ka na naman. So hindi mo na mamalayan, ang dami mo nang nagagastos for that. Kasi bili ka ng bili. And personally, for this question, willing ako mag-spend more if I know na talaga magtatagal siya sa akin. Kesa naman bibili ako ng mas mura pero alam ko after ilang months lang, masisira na siya or kailangan ko na ulit bumili. So if you will think about it in the long run, parang hindi ka rin nakatipid kasi kahit mura yung binili mong item, kung after a while kailangan mo na ulit bumili ng bago. So ayun, parang napagastos ka lang din. So I suggest na dun kayo mag-settle sa mga magtatagal talaga, yung mga heavy duty, yung maganda yung quality, mas durable. So ayun, kailangan nyo ulit mag-research, tingnan yung mga reviews and ratings of that certain item before buying. And yes, so there we have it, loves, for the questions that I always ask myself before buying something. And hopefully, natulungan ko kayo and na-convince and encourage ko kayo to spend more wisely. Kasi nga, sa panahon ngayon, hindi na talaga madali. And ang pera, mahirap talaga siyang kitain. So, you might want to consider the questions I shared with you today and apply it in your ways of consumption. So, there we have it, loves, for today's video. I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Check me out on my socials. At Instagram, I'm WendyXdiane, and Twitter at WendyRoman. And before clicking out, I post the videos every Friday and Sunday, so make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified. Thank you, loves, for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Love, WendyXdiane.